Welcome back to the other side where we talk about trials, triumphs, and everything in between, because that's where we believe the magic lies, in the in between. I am so excited today. I have Tenderly Moreno from Tenderlys Boutique. She is so inspiring, you guys. She has a great story of resilience, family trials, things that she has been through, and she has still managed to build her business, make it through COVID, and raise a family. So please join me in welcoming Tenderly to the set. Hi,
Hi. Hi.
Tenderly.
Thank you for having me.
Oh my gosh, girl. I was so excited when I met you because when we got to talking and you told me first of all, you're just so young. If you don't mind, how old are you exactly?
28.
28,
Yes.
you guys. Yes, and you've been through so much,
Yes.
in the years of living, and you've raised your daughter. And do you have a daughter, two daughters, or
A
a daughter
daughter
and a
and a
son?
son. Yes.
Yes, your
Yes.
daughter and your son,
Yes.
and built a business and made it through COVID. And for me, that was like, wow,
Yes.
not to mention how you grew up,
Yes.
So that's what really inspired me to have you here,
Thank
because I
you.
think there's so many young girls and young men that allow their life and their childhood to determine the person that they're going to be. And the whole reason why I started this podcast was because I wanted people to know that who you were or how you were raised doesn't have to determine who you become and what you do in your future.
Yes.
Yeah,
Definitely. Yes.
right.
Oh.
So I just really want to start by, I always start with everyone how
Yes.
you grew up, and really that's what makes you so resilient and so inspiring. So
Thank
do
you.
you mind just
Yeah.
kind of
Sure.
going over that for
Yes.
us?
So I grew up with my grandpa and my grandma. My grandpa worked for the city of Commerce. He was the lead man painter. He had a really good job. Um, my grandma was a stay-at-home mom to me and my brother. I was raised with one of my siblings. And yeah, I mean, my grandpa, he had a crazy childhood as well. And he, once we were born, his grandkids, he tried to live like a normal life. So he got this really good job and, he had it all. He had bought a house in Whittier. We were living in Whittier. Um, but he still was involved in the gang life and, all that. He was in his 40s. And so it was me, my brother, my grandparents, and my uncle that lived in the home. And in 2005, my uncle, my grandma, and grandpa's son, he committed suicide. And I was probably 7 years old when that happened. So I was in first grade. And so that was very traumatic. He lived in the garage and we lived in the front, house. And I remember we were gonna walk out with my grandma, and she just stood screaming when she opened the door and she found him. She didn't let us go back there, and we had to wait with the neighbor, and it was just a lot of a lot to go through at the time. My brother was we're only a year and a half apart, so it was crazy. We were just like, what's going on? And then my grandparents ended up separating. My grandma had to get a job, work a job. She was not really used to that. She was stay at home, had it good. But they separated. She didn't stay with my grandpa, and so he was going through a lot. They both were, they lost a child in a really hard way, and so um, in 2006, my grandpa ended up passing away to gang violence. Too, he got shot and stuff. So that was literally a year later, 2006. I was in second grade now at this time. I was about 8. And so it was really hard because I seen him as my father, as a dad. And so I just was like, what? Like, it was a lot, like one
Yeah.
thing after another. And then being raised also by older, my grandparents, not a mom and dad, So I always wonder, like, what, like, where's my parents, or like, what's going on? At that time, my dad was in prison. He was in his 20s at the time. So he was young. My mom was also young. Um, she had kids, of her own, like apart, and my dad also had kids. So it's just crazy. I have siblings everywhere, and then just growing up, like, like that, and it's hard,
Confusing.
confusing, yeah,
Yeah.
like very confusing, and then like what's going on, and so I'm just like, what, like, it was really hard.
So when did you find out that your grandparents, did you always know they weren't your parents? You knew they were your
Yeah, I think I
grandparents?
knew because my dad would kind of come, my mom and dad, they would kind of like come when they wanted to, or whatever, um like in and out of the picture and stuff. So it was kind of like I knew that they were not my parents. I knew that they were my grandparents and stuff. Like I called my grandpa Tata and my grandma. So it was like I knew, but I just was always like, I don't understand, like
Yeah.
why? Because me and my brother that I grew up with, we're the oldest. He's the oldest, and it's me from my dad's kids, and then my mom has 6 kids, and I'm the fourth oldest, and my brother's the third oldest. So she had already kids of her own, So she was raising
Mm.
those kids, but she wasn't raising me and my brother, if that makes
Oh,
sense.
okay.
So
Yes.
it was kind of like she would kind of come around, like if she was gonna take like family photos or whatever, but it was like I don't get it, like
Yeah.
I'm here and you have these kids, and so I didn't really know her, at that time. Like it was just confusing.
So were your grandparents your dad's parents?
Yeah, so my dad's parents, it's my grandpa, but my grandma that raised me is not my real grandma, actually. She's my dad's stepmom. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. So we're not even blood related. And she was there when I was born, at my birth, or at my mom's, when she had me. And yeah, that's my dad's stepmom. So it's
Wow. So
crazy.
when your grandmother and grandfather got separated, your grandma took you both.
No. So when my grandma and grandpa separated, that was the same grandma that is not really my grandma.
Right, but
Yeah.
I'm saying she took
Or what do you
you.
mean?
Your grandpa didn't.
Oh,
Your
yes, yes.
grandma
Sorry,
ended
sorry,
up
sorry. Yeah. She took me,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, I still seen him and everything, but he wasn't doing too well. He was like on drugs, he wasn't taking
Mm,
it well when his, son passed
yeah.
away. He stopped working, he got time off, and he was just doing a lot of crazy things. And I would see him and he would tell me like, pretty soon you're not gonna see me anymore. Like, and then I would start crying, like, what? Like, what do you, I don't get it.
How
So
old were you at this time?
I was 7, and then when he passed, I was 8. So I
Yeah,
was
so you
little.
were
I was my
young.
daughter's 7 right now, so I'm like, I can't imagine to put her through any of that. She
Yeah.
doesn't know anything like that, so it's like it was hard. I just it was a lot. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, a lot to process when you're
yeah,
not even sure what life is supposed to be.
exactly. So
But
I'm
you
just
see
like,
your
what?
friends at school, right?
Yeah,
With their mom and their dad and
yeah, living normal, like a normal life, because I know we all have something we go through.
Mhm.
It's not easy for everyone. Even
Right.
though it looks like, oh, they have a mom and dad, it's easy. I'm sure we all go through things, but
Definitely.
just like, having that parent, like your actual parent there,
Yeah.
was
Well,
not.
and then knowing they're there, but
Yeah,
they kind of choose
yeah,
not to be
yeah,
there.
exactly.
And then keeping the others. How did you
Yeah,
process that as a young, I mean, maybe you weren't able to process it. How have
yeah,
you been able to process that now with your mom keeping the other siblings
yeah.
and allowing you guys to
It's just, I don't know. It's weird. Like I sometimes think about it if I'm by myself, but
Mhm.
I just try to not think as much about it and just kind of be strong and continue with my life. I feel like
Mhm.
my kids really have a lot to do with me, like being strong and continuing. I feel like as now an adult, because I feel like when I was a teenager, I kind of just was like, oh, like, whatever. It would hurt and stuff. And when people got to know me on a personal level, they'd be like, oh my God, like, they couldn't believe it and stuff, like my close friends.
Mhm.
But I just always try to be like, you know what? I'm not going to let this like define me. I just really want different. I want to be someone. And, I didn't know if I was going to have kids or not. It wasn't really like, oh, I want kids, or,
Mhm.
it was just like whatever happens, happens. But I feel like now they keep me really grounded and strong, because even to this day, things happen with the family, like my mom's side, and just things. And I'm like, oh my God, like how, like, and it's just people don't think of the trauma that it brings to me, or like the thoughts it brings. And they just expect me to take it all, like, take it all,
Mhm.
and not feel anything.
Like you've been
So,
taking it all this
yeah,
time, like
yeah,
kind of get over it. And you're
yeah.
like, I've been getting over it. I'm
Yes,
tired.
yes, I'm tired,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it's hard.
So have you sought any help?
No, and I think about that. I'm like, you know what? Maybe I should go to therapy or something, just to be like 100% and be okay, like internally, for myself and for my kids,
Mhm.
because I feel like
Mhm.
we all need that, and I know I do.
Yeah. Well, kind of more to bring it up
Yeah.
and let it be able to let it go. I mean,
Yeah.
it sounds like you've done an amazing job at
Yeah.
doing that, but I know for myself because, I told you I tried to surrender my life at
Yes.
18 we get really good at shoving it so
Yes.
far down.
Until you can't anymore, and sometimes you just explode, or you think like, why am I here? Like,
Mhm.
what's my purpose? But
Or
then you kind of,
or we make decisions with a fear that we don't even know is
yeah,
coming from this place, the root,
yes,
right?
yeah,
As they say.
yeah.
So where's your mom now?
She's around. She lives in Los Angeles, not far from where I live.
Mhm.
She's around. She has some. I speak to some of my siblings from her side and stuff, and then yeah. I mean, she's there.
How are they
Just
doing?
they're good. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I have a brother that lives in Arizona. He has his own family. He's the oldest
Mhm.
sibling, and then I have a sister. She just had a baby. I don't really speak too much with her, but she did just have a baby, like I think a few months ago. And then my sibling, my older brother that I grew up with, he's okay right now. But another thing too is addiction. It's a
Mm.
lot in my family.
Yeah.
It's a lot, and so right now he's kind of just going through the ups and downs, trying to get clean and just trying to, and it's hard to not only like go through that, but just see him, going through that,
Of
and knowing
course.
we grew up together and like we were so close, and that's
And then
really hard.
how you wonder, like, why did he make those
Yeah,
choices and I
exactly.
was able to
Yeah,
make different choices. Why
yes.
do you think he struggled a little more? Do you have any idea? Has he ever like
He,
mentioned to you?
not really. He says that he, his way of like coping, or he says that it wasn't my parents, it's not their fault, and that's not why he uses that. He uses for the feeling it gives him if he feels good. But I know it's not that. That's just what he uses to cover up, to not blame anyone, because he's like,
Right.
I'm not gonna blame them. Like, it's not their fault.
Mm.
But I know that it's like it hurts, all the things, and like we didn't go to therapy, or we didn't any of that. I feel like, I don't know, it's kind of different in the
Yeah,
early 2000s. It was like 2006 when this was all happening. And so I feel like he just grew up. I don't know. I feel like sometimes girls are a little bit more stronger.
definitely.
So,
Yeah.
guys are a little bit more emotional, and
Mhm.
so they let things,
They try to
yeah.
mask it more because they
Yeah.
feel like they can't cry or they can't show
Yes. And I also
emotion.
feel like too, like I I feel like for guys it's a little bit easier for them to fall into like the gang life and to fall into the drugs and stuff. And I mean, girls, I know they still fall into it sometimes, but
Mhm.
it's not as common as a guy gets into a gang and gets these tattoos and starts
Kind of
using.
feels like it's a little more expected
Yeah,
for the
and it's
guys
sad,
to,
you know.
it is
Yeah,
sad.
yeah,
Yeah. It's too
it's yeah,
bad. Oh, I'm sorry
yeah.
because it's you want to love him, you
Yes,
want to be there
yes.
for him, but then we also know that we can't save
Yes,
anybody
and it's
either,
hard. My
right?
kids, they love him so much, and so that he's like a uncle. Like, they have multiple uncles, multiple aunts, but this uncle is someone they see all the time. When he's okay, he's over our house and he's there with them playing, and like, but they don't really know what's really going on.
Yeah.
My daughter is getting older, so she kind of is starting to pick up on things, and I don't want her to,
Mm.
have to go through any trauma. So I tell him, like, something happens to you, imagine how my kids are gonna suffer the way we suffered, and it's not fair to them. Like, if
Mm.
God forbid, overdose or whatever. I'm like, why do they have to go through what we went through, knowing our uncle passed and our grandpa? Like, if something happens to you with a family, we're not gonna be okay. It's
Yeah.
gonna be really hard, especially on my kids. Instead of my grandma's, older. It's not fair.
Yeah.
But I just feel like, I don't know. It's hard. It's a lot.
Well, it's addiction.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
like I told you before, my ex struggled with addiction and if they don't want to get help, they're not going to
They're
get
not gonna get
help.
help
And
no
they're the
matter
only
what.
ones
Yes.
who can help
Yeah,
themselves,
that is true.
unfortunately. Like we can love them, but
Yes.
then sometimes we have to start loving them from afar
Yeah.
because like you said, the kids
Yeah.
get older, they get
Yeah.
smarter,
Yes.
they get a little wiser.
Yeah.
They're really
And they
smart
ask
at that
questions, and
age.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They're
it's
very intuitive.
yes. Yes, and they know, like, as they get older, they're gonna know. So it's like, I don't want that, and so,
Yeah.
and my dad as well, like, he struggles with addiction and just in and out of prison and stuff. So it's hard because I want to be this normal person, quote unquote normal, because it's like, I want to be normal. I want to give them a normal life, a normal childhood, but there's just so much that, like, it's hard, like
Yes.
it's just hard.
And it's so unfortunate, and I think that's why I know that's why you inspired me so much, because when you grow up in a lifestyle like that, because it's a lifestyle. It started with your grandfather,
Yes.
and then, your uncle, and
Yes.
now your brother, and, it's you wanna break the chain
Yes.
because you don't want that to continue anymore. Like you said, you wanna have a somewhat we'll say
Yeah.
somewhat normal
Yeah.
life, because what's normal? Who knows
Exactly.
what's normal,
Exactly.
right?
Who knows?
And I think you're doing an amazing job, and
Thank you.
you're so inspiring, and, even with all of that, you still managed to start a business.
Yes.
You still managed to get out of it and to block it out and to decide that you wanted different for yourself.
Yes.
So, dealing with your uncle, do you know what maybe was your uncle also struggling with, substance abuse?
Yes, believe at the time that he committed suicide, he was on drugs and stuff. But my grandma told me he struggled with like suicidal thoughts and just so many things since he was young. I think he was like 13 or
Mm.
14. He tried to do like multiple things like since he was young, like, oh, I don't want to be here, and he would try to, do crazy things, jump off the freeway bridge and just like things. And so my grandma's been through a lot since, you know, she was raising her son. She had all these traumas and crazy things. And it's crazy because I feel like my uncle, he, grew up with my grandma as his mom, and she was a
Mhm.
good mom. And then my grandpa, well, I'm sure we don't, have it perfect, but
Right.
they were together and stuff. But I don't know what it was, but
So he struggled for
he struggled
years.
for years. Yeah. And
Do you
so,
think that was because of his
yeah.
dad, right? He
Yeah.
was kind of
I feel like, yeah, maybe, because his dad was, in a gang. And, um, I mean, he was present, but then sometimes you're not really present, like, yeah,
Mhm.
you're in the household and stuff, but maybe you're doing these, things, whatever,
Drinking,
drinking
or
or
yeah,
using. And
yeah.
so it's hard because maybe you think, oh, the kids don't know or my son doesn't know. But I mean,
Yeah, they can feel
they
it.
can
They
feel
can
it. They're
feel a
smart,
disconnect.
Yes,
Mhm.
exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Wow. That's a lot. That is a
yeah,
lot.
yes.
So your grandma, did she only have the one son?
She has a daughter and a son. Yeah. So her daughter is from a previous marriage. And so she was also there, raised there with my grandma. So yeah, she was there when her brother passed away
Mm.
and just
How
all
is
the
she doing?
she's okay. Yeah, she's
So do
good.
you guys have a relationship?
No, not no
Oh, you
more. Yeah, we don't.
don't.
She's actually my Nina. She baptized me and stuff. She's my brother and myself's Nina.
Wow.
Yeah, but just family issues of my grandma's side. With the grandparents of of myself, with my grandma, it's her
Mhm.
parents
Mhm.
that they had issues, so they stopped talking and stuff. So my grandma doesn't have really anyone. She just has me and my kids and my brother. So it's
Oh.
just us. Like we're just on Easter and like holidays. It's literally just me, myself, my kids, my boyfriend, my brother, his girlfriend, and my
How
grandma.
beautiful, though. Like,
It's
I
just
mean,
us.
it's sad,
It's kinda
right?
sad sometimes, because you see sometimes the big families and stuff, but then,
Yes.
you know what, we've done the big family thing, like, with my grandma's side and stuff, but then I'm like sometimes I'm like, "You know what? I don't need anyone, like, I literally just need my kids, that's all I need, and as long as they're happy, then I'm happy."
Well, and I'm saying it's beautiful, because it's beautiful that your grandmother, one, isn't, like you said, your biological
Yeah.
grandmother, right?
Yeah.
But, I mean, who knows? She may have been alone,
Yeah, exactly.
but
That's what my dad
because
says, he's like, "Wow, like, if it wasn't for you guys, that you guys are not even, quote, unquote, her blood, but she loves you guys like her kids or loves you guys so much. You guys are the ones there for her now that she's older." So it's kinda like she did so much for us, now I feel like I'm kinda paying her back, like, I'm being there for
Mhm.
her and, like, we're being there even though it's not easy, and she's still going through the things with my brother, so that's what hurts too because I'm like, "Man, she doesn't get a break." Like, she
Mm.
went through it with her son, and she lost her husband, and then she doesn't talk to her daughter, and her mom is still alive, my grandma's mom, and she
And
doesn't
they
get to
don't
see
talk
her.
either, huh?
No. So it's like it's hard, like it must be hard, just she's just there with us, like living for, I feel like if it wasn't for my kids, and she says the same thing, if it wasn't for the kids, I don't know like how we would be, like it would literally just be us on the holidays, no kids, like, so it's
Mhm.
kind of like, well, it's not kind of, it is a blessing that my kids are there because they make us laugh every day and they get us going. We go to Disneyland, we go to the park, we go to, bowling or whatever. We're always doing something. So I feel like if I didn't have them, I'm like, dang, like, how would things be?
Yeah.
Especially for her, like, as she's getting older.
Right. But now you're building your own family.
Yes.
You've built your own
Yeah.
family. And it's,
Yes.
I mean, yes, it's sad, but you're creating such a different environment that you are going to break the chain.
Yes.
You are. You already have. I mean, your daughter's a little businesswoman.
Yes.
Like it's amazing,
Yeah.
you know? So let's get to the positive, right?
Yes.
Because of course they need to know like what you went through
Yeah.
and
Of
to
course.
really understand how resilient you truly are, because it's not what you went through, it's what you're still going through.
Yeah.
You still have all of this stuff in the background happening, but you decided you wanted different for yourself.
Yes.
And you wanted to own a business. And you knew that at the age of 18.
Yes.
And
Even before 18, when I was in high school, and like, you're already a senior or junior, they're telling you, oh, apply to these colleges, or what are you gonna do, and blah blah blah. And I didn't apply to any colleges. I was like, no, like, I know what I want to do, and I want to own a business, and I'm gonna have like a boutique and whatever. And the teachers would be like, it's weird or whatever. Like, how are you not gonna? And I'm like, no, like, I know what I want. So fast forward, I graduated high school. I got a job at Smart and Final. I was a cashier, and I did sign up to the LA Trade Tech in downtown. They had like a fashion program and stuff. I only went for a semester, and as I was working, but I knew that's not what I wanted or what I was like meant to do. So I was like, no, this isn't for me. Like, even just being here in the fashion thing, I felt like I wasn't really learning much. It wasn't what I wanted, like, at the time. So me and my boyfriend just started saving up, and an opportunity came available in Montebello at that spot. I would eat all the time in high school and even after high school. Next door at Laundress Hot Wings, it was a pizza and wings place, and I would always go eat there. And so, a girl, she used to have a boutique before I did there, and so I would always go in high school, and I would talk to her, and I would tell her like, yeah, like, I want to have a store one day. Like, I know I'm gonna do it. And she was like, yeah, like, that's awesome. And one day I went in to buy an outfit, and she told me like, hey, I'm gonna be selling the business. Like, would you be interested? And I was like, oh, like, what do you mean? And she was like, yeah, like, it's gonna be this much, and you're gonna just take over the lease, and like, we'll talk to the landlord, and just you could change the store. It's not what I know, because she was more like Western cowboy, so it wasn't really. It's not nothing how it is now. Like
right.
so the name, everything was different. So I told her, I'm like, okay, I'm like, you know what? Yes, like, do not tell anyone. Like, I'm gonna figure it out. Like, just give me some time. Like, give me a few days, and we'll check back in a few days. So then, at that time, I was 19. Um, I talked to my grandma, and I told her, and I also told my Nina at the time, because we were still in contact, and I was like, maybe they can lend me the money. Like, I was just trying to think. And they were like, no, like, they didn't think it was smart. They didn't. I feel like they didn't really believe in me, because it's kind of scary, like a certain amount of money, and then I
How
have no
much was it?
experience. It was 10,000. Yeah,
That's a big amount of money.
Yeah, especially at that time.
Yeah.
So,
and at that age.
yeah, they probably were like, "What the heck? This girl's crazy." So,
And what do you know about business?
exactly, literally, I didn't know anything. So then my grandma was just like, "No, like, are you sure?" Like, I'm like, "Okay, it's fine." So then I went to the bank and stuff, and I have a credit union. They were like, "You don't have credit," like. So basically, we just saved up, and I told her, you know what, like, just give me a little bit of time, and we're gonna make it happen. She's like, "Okay, well, let's meet with the landlord of the building, and we'll talk to her." I feel like also the landlord was kind of like, "What the heck? This girl's really young, 19. Like, are you sure?" Even the girl told me like, "Oh, if you ever struggle or you can't do it no more, like, stay in contact, let me know." I told her okay, but no, we ended up getting the money together. We paid her. I started little by little changing the store, because I knew that wasn't my vibe, and it was so different.
How did you get the money together? Because that's what everybody's going to
Yeah,
be wondering. Like, how long did it take you, and how did you get it together?
it took some time, but I feel like we just at the time I lived with my grandma. Me and my boyfriend, we lived at my grandma's house. She lived in East LA, so we didn't really pay like a lot of rent or barely anything. And so we were just working. He worked at Smart and Final warehouse. I worked at, Smart and Final at the store. So it took a little, like some time, but
What's some time?
like,
Months, 2 months, a year? Like
no,
basically, how long did she wait for you?
she waited not long, like just, I'm trying to think, like few months, I guess you could
Yeah.
say, like a few weeks,
Hmm.
a few months. And so, but she knew. She was just like, oh, like, I'm getting older, and she had a son, so she's like, I have a son, and like I want to get into a different field. Like I feel like you would do really good and stuff. And I'm like, okay. So she knew that I was like for sure. Like once we signed
Hmm.
papers and I talked to the landlord, she was just like, okay, like
And
it's
what was the
locked.
lease at that time? The
At the
price?
time, it was 2,000, I believe, $2,000. Yeah.
So
So it
you
wasn't
took
too
on
bad.
it, but like you said, you lived with your grandma, so you knew
Yeah.
you could afford it.
Yeah. At that time, yes.
Hmm.
But then literally shortly after, a few months later, I opened the store, I think in June of 2017. And then in November, I find out I'm pregnant with my daughter. So then it was just a few months after that, right? And so once I found out I was pregnant, I'm like, oh my goodness. So I knew I didn't want to raise my daughter in East LA, there where we lived. My brother was too involved in like the gang and street stuff and bringing his friends over and partying.
Mm.
So I said, no, um, we're gonna leave. Like we're not gonna live here anymore. So a month before I gave birth to my daughter, a month or two, May or June, she was born in July of 2018.
Hmm.
That's when we moved out of East LA, and me and my boyfriend rented. We got a really nice house. I don't even know how we did it, but in the gated community in Hacienda Heights, up in the hill, like literally it was crazy. And we're like, what the heck? We did that like on our own. My grandma didn't sign. Like we did all that. I told my grandma, we're gonna move. Like you're coming with us, and we even brought my brother along for the ride.
Yeah.
And it was kind of crazy, but we moved into that 4 bedroom, 3 bath house, and we were there. And at the time, the rent was like almost 3,000. It wasn't. It was a lot, kind of, but I feel like now it wasn't a lot. Now you think about it, at
Yeah.
this
For a big
point in time,
house in
yeah.
a gated
And a
community.
gated community
Yeah.
had a clubhouse, a pool, and everything. So my daughter's, only
You
been
really
raised
moved
in,
up, huh,
yeah.
girl?
I said, no, we're leaving. We're leaving, and so we left. But another important thing that I want to mention is that I opened in June of 2017, found out I was pregnant in November, but in September, my boyfriend lost his father,
Mm.
and his father raised him. So that was a big tragedy for us. I feel like I was pretty close to his dad, I would say. I met him when I was young, 14. So I knew his dad. And so I was only 19. He was 21. It was a really hard time. Like
Yeah.
a really good thing happened for us. He was still working and I was doing the boutique and we were fine. And so when his dad passed away, it was like it was really hard, to go through like another tragedy because I was there when like we went to his house and the dad was there. He passed away
Yeah.
at his house. And so just seeing my boyfriend like that and go through a hard time. His dad passed away. His dad raised him, so it's like it was another traumatic event. Like something
Especially when you think like, oh, we're like it's finally
finally, yes,
changing,
finally
right?
changing.
Yeah.
Finally, things are going so good, and then boom, like this happens, and then we're like, oh my god, like it's just one thing after another. So his dad passed in September, and then we find out that I'm sorry, I don't think it's September. It was August, if I'm not mistaken. August or September. I'm
Yeah.
sorry if I'm not remembering correctly, but
It's
it
okay.
was that literally just a few months after we got the
Hmm.
store. So then, um, in November we find out we're having our daughter. So then we felt like so happy, like that was really a blessing, like
Yeah.
God sent, or even from her grandpa.
Hmm.
So then things started to kind of get better. We moved to Hacienda Heights. We're kind of living, we're finally trying to live normal. Um, my dad ends up getting out of prison. He was doing a prison sentence at that time. My daughter was 1 years old when he got out. Another thing that I didn't mention to you, I feel like that's also important, is that my dad, I told you he has a lot of kids.
Hmm.
He had a baby with a girl, and basically she used when she was pregnant. So the baby was born early. And so he was taken away by the system when he was born preemie. He was born literally tiny. So once he was like, he was in the NICU, and then when a few weeks or months passed, um, the system took him and stuff.
Yeah.
So then I started doing classes to become his foster parent, and I did it. And this was before I was even pregnant on my daughter. I was 18 at the time when I started doing the classes. And then it kind of was a long process. You had to do so many background checks. They had to come
Mhm.
look at your house. So that took like a really long time, probably about a year. Because then once I was ready to get him, I was pregnant.
Oh.
And I was scared to tell them, like, oh, I'm pregnant because I'm now 19
Yeah.
with the business and then now expecting my own baby. How am I going to take care of this baby? He was only now about a year. So then, um, fast forward, I ended up getting custody of him. I'm his foster parent. And so,
Really?
yeah, um, I had him
So
for a few
oh,
years,
okay.
not anymore. It was a hard time because, mind you, I'm 19. I have now two kids. I have him. I have my daughter. He was born with methamphetamine in his system,
Mm.
so it was hard. It was just a hard time.
And they say they're a little more difficult
Yes,
babies. They
they
cry a
are.
lot
Yeah.
because they
Yes,
yeah.
exactly. So mind you, I'm having the store. I'm raising two kids. I'm taking both of them with me to the store to work. My dad gets out of prison, um, and I feel like at that time I was just going through a lot. I just had a baby. I was young. I didn't know, like, I didn't know, or not that I didn't know. I knew I've always been like strong minded and just like like I've always been,
Mhm.
fine. It wasn't that I didn't know. I feel like I was doing the best I could, but I just feel like I wasn't being taken seriously. Or like when my dad came home from prison, he was obviously like, I picked him up and he was, staying with me for a little bit. And I just feel like he didn't, or him and a few other people, they didn't really respect me like as the parent now of my brother, because he called me mom, he called my boyfriend dad. So it's kind of
Mm.
hard because now I'm like not fighting because I didn't fight them, but I just feel like I did so much to get him. Like I literally went through the process like of everything. I did the classes. Like I took time out of, I'm young. Like who's gonna do this
Yeah,
at this age?
yes.
I did so much.
You're
And
still
so
a child
yeah,
really
yeah,
yourself. I mean, you're living as
yeah.
an adult, but you're a child. You're
Exactly.
19. I
And
mean,
so it was hard because then I have, now his mom knows that my brother's mom knows that I have my brother. And so she's like, reaching out, and I'm like, no, like you're not gonna see him. I had to be like kind of mean and strong,
mhm.
but I just feel like it was a lot and it was causing a lot of problems within the family. Um, like basically because I was being the parent and I was kind of like strict, like, oh, he's not gonna eat candy, because I feel like candy would trigger, him to get a certain way. And I just feel like I didn't have a
No,
lot of
you weren't
help,
getting respect.
respect, and
Yeah.
then help from like even the social workers. Like I would tell them like he needs to go to regional centers, like he needs help, like speech. Like I just feel like it was so much. And then I was still trying to be a good mom to my daughter, be there in my business, and then deal with all this with my brother and all the people and all the opinions. And it just was so much that a few years passed and I was crying, and an incident happened with my boyfriend and myself and my brother. And so I just felt like it was just too much that I said, you know what? I called a social worker one day and I told her, I'm not gonna. We were about to adopt him. She was even asking, "What are you gonna change his name? You guys are gonna be on the birth certificate." And I was like, "No, his name will stay the same." My grandpa's name was Carlos Moreno. My dad, my uncle, my brother, and even that brother. So there was
Mm.
so many Carlos Morenos
Yeah.
that I was like, "No, I'm not gonna change his name. Like, that's his name that he was born with."
Mhm.
So I called her one day and I just was crying and I just told her, like, you know what, I'm sorry, but I can't do this. Like I've already had him for a few years. I feel like no, like he's not getting the help like from you guys, like regional centers and just everything. There's things that are, going on with him that he needs that extra help. And mind you, the he was kind of getting help now at that time because I was taking him to certain regional centers, and
Mhm.
then everything was in San Bernardino area because that's where he was like out of. So I was driving far, and then I
Yeah.
had to be at my store and just with my daughter. So it was just so much that I was like, you know what, this isn't working out. I told her I'm gonna give time for you to find a family that he can like be adopted by, not just fosters, because that's not what
Right.
I wanted.
Yeah.
He was in two foster homes previous before he came to me.
Mhm.
So I told her, I don't want him to be bouncing around. Like, I want you to find him a good family that is going to love him and keep him, and that hopefully I could stay in contact with him. So she was like, give me some time. She's like, let me look into it and I'll get back to you. So got back to me one day. She came to my house and she showed me a few families. She's like, I want you to be a part of the process. Like, who's gonna get him? Like,
Yeah.
what do you think? I told her, well, to be honest, I feel like a family that doesn't have kids should get him because I feel like he needs the most attention you can like give a child. He really
Yeah.
needs it. I said, so we found a family. They didn't have kids, and so she's like, okay, we're gonna set up a meeting with them. And so
You're
she
gonna
said,
make me cry.
yeah, it was a lot. Yeah, I was crying so much the day that they picked them up. I'm like, oh my God, it was hard, but um, it was my daughter's brother basically and
Yeah.
uncle, so it was a lot. I was like, am I doing the right decision? Am I not? I felt selfish and guilty, but I was like, I feel like I need to do this for my daughter and myself because
Mhm.
there's always going to be problems if I keep him. There's always going to be something. Someone's going to fight me or someone's going to have an opinion.
Mhm.
I'm not doing this right or I'm being too mean or I'm being too this. So I said I can't. So they came
When really they should have just shut up
yeah,
because they're not doing anything at
exactly.
all, and you're the
Exactly.
only one
And I was
doing
the only one because I was the one that did everything to get him. I was going to the courts. I was doing so
it.
much
Yeah.
that who's going to be doing at 18?
Yeah.
No one. No one's going to, I was just so focused on everybody else and what they need. And I just wasn't like, it was a lot. So
Yeah.
he ended up being adopted. And yeah, my daughter was, I think, 3 years old when he left. I think he was about 4 when he left. So I
And
had
they
him
were
for a few years.
close
Yeah, they were
then.
close. They were like brother and sister. I have pictures of them when we would take them to Disneyland and we would take them, places. And so he ended up being adopted. I still keep in contact with the family. We've only seen him one time since he's been adopted. I feel like they're not sure, what our intentions are, what my, they don't know. So the dad does text me pictures like when he's gets an award or he had a soccer tournament. He's in soccer. They have him in sports. They take him to concerts. They've taken him to Hawaii. So I
So
feel
he got
like
a really
he got
good
a really good
family.
family. That deep down makes me feel really good.
Yeah.
And I feel like, you know what? Like I feel like that's what he needed. Like I know he would have had it good with me because,
Yes.
he would have been fine, but just too much of the family drama and all this stuff that I feel like he needed that. And I feel like I just hope that we stay in contact, all these years. And maybe when he's an adult, if he wants to be in our lives, I would be
And he'll
more than
thank
welcome.
you.
Yeah.
I'm sure he'll thank you because,
Yeah.
when he finds out why
Yeah.
you did it.
Yeah. I did it because I just felt like it was just too much, and then his mom, like it was a lot. And I'm like, I can't be like,
You saved him from so
yeah,
much chaos.
exactly. I think about it now. I'm like, wow, like if he would have stood on me, or even not only that, just stood on me, or say that wouldn't have happened, he would have been raised with his mom, and like it would have just been crazy. Like
it would have been similar to you, right? Why don't they want me, or
Yeah.
why aren't they around,
Exactly.
or
Exactly.
having to
So-
see all the other trauma and
Yeah.
drama
and drama. Yeah. So I was literally at 18, 19, raising 2 kids, had a store, my business. And it was just so much that I'm like, oh my God, like it was a lot. And I feel like it wasn't a big deal. I feel like to people around me, like they felt like, because I've always been strong. So I just felt like it was normal, I guess.
That's the problem. Speaking to the audience, it's a problem when you're a strong person.
Yeah.
Because they don't realize you need help too.
Yes.
And you need support too. But you're not going to go crying all the time, and you're not going to be begging for it. So, people need to realize that they need to be there for the strong people in their life, because just because we're strong on the outside doesn't mean we're not hurting on the inside.
Exactly.
Or need that advice, or need that support, or just need that love, and the acceptance kind of.
Yes.
It's like, just love me and accept me, and
Yes.
congratulate,
Yeah.
just give a congratulations, or like, but not like, oh, well, they always do it.
Yeah,
Right.
so
They
it's
always
not a
make
big
it
deal.
through. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, it's not a big deal, but
Yeah.
shit, it's a big deal, because
yeah.
it's a big deal to keep your mind straight
Exactly.
and to stay strong.
Exactly. It's to stay strong. And it's like, and mind you, like at that time, we had just lost my father-in-law. Like, my boyfriend too. I feel like we're strong. Like he's a strong person. I am. Like we didn't fall into like the partying and the drinking and the drugs. Like we were just like, no, like we knew what we wanted. We knew that we wanted to have a good life, like be different. Um, like it's just what we wanted. And I feel like we did it and we're still doing it. Like people our age at that time, like always had their parents, and good for them, like good that they didn't have to go through that. But like when we wanted to buy a car or sign, we had to sign the car ourselves. Like we didn't have a mom or a dad to come and save us, or we just were always like, no, like we always wanted a nice car. We always had a nice car. We always, you know, and it's not even about the material because that doesn't
Yeah.
mean anything, but it just was like our way of, we didn't go partying. We never went to clubs. So we were like, we want a nice car. We want like, to have nice things if we could. And we tried our best, like without the help of a cosign or this or that. We, even just like when we rented a place, it was kind of like buying a house in a way because we had to show like pay stubs and bank statements. We had to have good credit. Like we had to get approved for all that. That was just wasn't
Yeah.
something that happened,
No.
it was hard, and I'm like, damn, like,
You have grown adults who still haven't done it.
yeah,
So,
exactly. And so it was just like, it was a lot, even now, like being parents to two kids. Now I have a son, he's 3. And it's like, we try our best. We don't go out. We don't leave our kids. We've never left them a night in their lives. They've never stood at anyone's house. They've never been away from us. And it's like, because I feel like they're only going to be little for a short amount of time.
Yeah.
And I want to be there every morning that they wake up, or even if I'm working and my grandma's there with them, but I want to know that I was there every night with them. And I didn't care about, going partying. And because I say, you know what, that could wait. Like if when I'm older, if I want to go, I've never been to a club. So I'm like, if I want to go to a club when I'm older, and no shame to the ones that do
Yeah.
it. If that's what works for them, that's great.
Yeah.
But I feel like I'd rather include them. We went to Hawaii last summer, and so it was nice. I could have said, oh no, I'm going to take a vacay,
Yeah.
to unwind, and I'll leave my kids with my grandma or something. But no, I said, my grandma is coming, my kids. And we
Oh,
went,
that's
we went, and
amazing.
I took the week off. My aunt helped me at my store because I'm like, wait, how am I going to leave if my store.
Yeah.
She was like, no, like, don't worry about it. You deserve it. Like, you go. I'm going to be fine. Everything's going to be fine. We went for a week, and it was really nice, to just experience it. I'm like, and this is just a little bit of what we can do, like taking our kids to places and showing them different. I've never went on a vacation
Yeah.
like growing up like that. My grandpa did take us like to Big Bear and stuff, like to the snow and Yosemite, things like that. He still did try, but we never went on these crazy
On a
vacations.
plane.
Yeah, on a plane.
Yeah.
I had never even been on a plane. Well, before that I did. I went to Vegas as an adult though,
Yeah.
but never like on a plane or ate at these nice restaurants and had all, like I've never experienced all that. And so to see my kids like have all that I did, I'm like, I don't care if people say they're spoiled or whatever. Like I want to give them that because they deserve it. Like why not? If you could. And I'm like, that's why I work hard. Like not to go and buy all these things, but for them, like to give them like anything, that they can ask for. Like I want to.
But I mean, that fills your soul too,
Yeah.
more than the material.
Yeah, more than
things
the material.
would. You
Yes.
get a Gucci purse
Yeah.
and what? It's a
For-
purse.
yeah,
It
for a
doesn't
little
come
bit,
with
yeah,
memories.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So to take them like, like wherever and on my days off or like when I get out of the store, I'm like, you know what, let's go here. Like I want to take my daughter has been to so many places, she can't say that, oh, it was boring. No, like she's been everywhere, to arcades, to, we just went to Santa Barbara last week. It was her spring break. We went to the zoo out there. We went to eat, we just always like to try new things and just include them because I know there's a lot of people that are like, oh, I need a break away from the kids and this and that. And I get it because it's not easy, it's not easy at all. But I'm like, I feel like I can get a break when they're older. They're going to be adults and
you're
maybe,
so young still.
yeah. So I'm like, you know what? I'm not missing out on anything because I want
You're really
them to.
not.
Yeah, I'm not.
I did all that.
Yeah.
It's
And people
not,
tell-
nothing
yeah.
good comes from
Yeah,
it.
so I'm like, no. Like I think about it, like I'm gonna go and party, and they get like the sections at the club, and I can use that 500,000 or 1,000, whatever 500,
Yeah.
for my business. Like I can use that on inventory to buy clothes, and like, that's how I think, or buy my daughter something. Like that's how I always think, or my son. So I'm like, no. Like I feel like right now I'm good where I'm at. I mean, I've wondered in the past when I was a little younger. I'm like, man, like I had seen my friends be in college. They went to college. They did. And I would think like to myself, then I'm like, no, like I'm meant to be where I'm at. Like, where, I'm.
Do you feel like you didn't go to college because you didn't think you could finish college, or you just knew you already knew what you wanted
I
to
feel
do?
like it was a little bit of both. I really did know what I wanted to do, but I felt like I didn't have the support. Like, again, my grandma, she didn't know anything about college.
Yeah.
She didn't have the money. I didn't have my mom and dad. There's a lot of people that had their parents go to these good colleges, or maybe they didn't, but they had the money or the support, whatever it was.
Or even the advice
Yes.
and the direction.
Yeah. And I just felt like part of it was because I knew what I wanted. And I was like, no. But then part of it was like, am I good enough? Like, am I going to be able to do it? Like, I don't know. I feel like it was both. I can't say that it was only because it was a lot because I knew what I wanted and I was like so strong minded. Like, no, I know. And even my friends, like, they were like, oh my God, like, you've always been like, I always want to dress nice. And, like, I knew, but then I kind of was like, oh, I don't know. Like,
Well,
I don't
then
think I
it kind of
could.
got presented to
Yeah.
you at the time. So
And it was crazy because right before it got presented, I had in March of 2017, so a few months before that, I had went to downtown and I bought like $300 or $400 worth of inventory, and I didn't know anything. I just went and I was walking around, and I was like, I'm gonna use some of my money for my job to see if I could sell clothes on Instagram or whatever. So I bought a few things. I have a video still of in my room in East LA. I had bought like a circle rack, and then I had put just a bunch of little clothes I had bought.
Yeah.
And then me and my friend, we went to downtown, and there was like a train where you could like kind of take pictures, and we took pictures there. And I was wearing the outfits, and she helped me. And I was posting like, oh, I'm selling clothes, like I'm starting this business, and so that had kicked off a few months before that was presented. And then once I was selling the clothes, and then that happened. So then
And
I
your
was like, oh my
sales,
God.
how were they going doing that?
They
So
were
you were doing your
going-
own marketing.
Yeah.
And you're doing your
They
own
were going
fashion
okay, yeah.
shoots.
I was doing
love
it all. I was trying.
Hear that, you
Yeah.
guys, right? You didn't let anybody tell
Yeah.
you no. You didn't let them stop you.
I
You
did.
figured it out.
I just figured it out, and I was like, I don't know what I'm doing, but I don't care. Like, I'm gonna. And then also, in I think it was senior year.
Because people come up with so many excuses.
Yes, of why they can't.
Yes,
and
of why they
you don't
can't.
know where to go. Even to this day, people ask me like, "Oh, well, how do you start a business, or where do you go?" And it's like I don't mind sharing tips, but at the same time, no one told me even to where to go buy the inventory when I did at that time. I didn't know, and I went to like stores I really probably wouldn't even go to now.
Yeah, you're like, I'm not telling you where I get my inventory.
It's like I'm like, damn, but it's like also makeup was a big part of my life. Like in high school, I took like a makeup class and I got certified, and I would wear makeup every day. I loved makeup. Now as a mom, I feel like I don't put makeup on every day just because I'm like, I'm so busy. I need to hurry up and I'm on the go, right? But um I feel like makeup was a big part. So I always knew I wanted to do something like makeup and like selling something like clothes and like beauty. So when I opened the store, the boutique, I also started doing makeup classes, and I was like, oh, I'm doing makeup classes, and you get a kit and like all this. So girls were taking makeup classes with me, and I was showing them how to, do their makeup and
we
all
gotta
this.
do that.
Yeah, it was nice. And also, yeah, that would be really nice. The girls would love it. So now when I do put makeup on, sometimes I'll get compliments like, "Oh my God, like what foundation are you wearing, or did you get your makeup done?" They'll ask me things,
Yeah.
and I'm like, I know, like and I'll tell them like it was me. And I feel like some of my customers are not always used to seeing me like all dressed up and with makeup and hair.
Glam.
Because if I could, I would, but I just feel like I rather give that time to my son, like he's there and my daughter's at school. And so I feel like guilty sometimes, and I shouldn't, but I feel guilty. Like, no, like I'm going to play with him and I'm going to get him ready. And then I can just go on with the regular outfit and I don't have to have makeup on, But
you know what I love is that when you don't look like that all the time. Because when you look like that all the time, then you look like that all the time.
Yeah.
But when you go somewhere special and then you put your makeup on, it's like, who are you, girl?
My kids,
then you really look glam.
They'll be like, well, where are you going? I'm like, oh my gosh, should I wear makeup every day so you guys don't bug? And then they laugh. My daughter laughs. But I like that my daughter, like, I tell her stories and I show her pictures of how I was before. And she's like, oh my God, like, you're so beautiful. And I tell her, no, you're beautiful. And so she's like, I'm so happy. Like, she looks up to all that. Like, she looks up to, like, everything. Like,
it makes a difference, because if you wore makeup all the time too, then she would think she had to do that, or she wasn't beautiful without it. But now she
Yeah.
knows you can be confident
Yeah.
and beautiful without
Without,
makeup.
yeah. So
Mhm.
she sees me and then I'll tell her like, no, like, and she's like, wow, like, and so she's like, you're so pretty, mom, you're so beautiful. And so
Aw.
I tell her like, you don't need any of that. She's like, no, like, and she just like looks up to everything, like business wise and just being a mom. She's like, mom, like you do so much for us. Like, or she'll see like when I buy them, she's like, oh my God, mom, like you spent, and I'm like, that doesn't matter. She's like, no, but like you do a lot, and like she'll tell me like, wow, like, and she's like,
And
she
she's
kinda
only
knows. Yeah,
7. That's
she knows.
beautiful.
She realizes. She's like,
So
"Thank
now,
you."
like, now she's starting her little
Yeah, she
business. You
starts
have
her.
her little racks.
Yeah,
How
she
did
does.
that come about?
So during COVID, so we'll talk about all that right now, but during COVID, I was having pop-ups in the back of my store because I do have, like, a big backyard in the
Mhm.
back of my shop, and so I was like, "Oh, that would be nice to help businesses," and at the time, I was charging maybe, like, $35 a
Mhm.
vendor. I wasn't trying to charge too much. I wanted it to be the first event I had, it was free. I didn't even charge anyone, and then
Mhm.
people were like, "No, you need to charge," you know?
Mhm.
So then I started charging, and then I'm like, my daughter could start selling like little toys, like I just got the idea. I'm like, there's so many I see in downtown so many cute little things that
Mhm.
I know she could sell for $2 or $3 and they'd
Yeah.
sell. So then I went to downtown and I got her a bunch of stuff. She was probably like 3 at the time that it started. And so we had her own booth at the pop-ups and she was selling, her and my grandma were selling and they had their masks on because it was during
Yeah.
COVID and stuff. So they were selling. Any money she made, I would either go buy more, I would save it. So we did start like a bank account for her and everything. So she's still, and she has that money. She can't touch it, she knows, but
Yeah.
she's grown a lot of, money and just everything. So then now that I have the store, after the pop-ups, I just would put the stuff away and I wouldn't, but then once the store, I'm like, I could just put stuff in here like for her. Why not?
Yeah.
So now she has her little section. And so every day she'll usually get a sale. Like yesterday she made, I think like almost $30 and I'll write down like what I know she sold.
Yeah.
And then, and that girl has Apple Pay and everything. So I'll either Apple Pay her the money or I'll give it to her cash. I tell her, "Oh, do you want cash or Apple Pay, whatever." So she knows like what it is. And I tell her like last week when she was on spring break, we went to downtown and she had like $110. And so she was like, "Okay, mama, I'm gonna buy stuff for my money." So I told her, okay. So she was being kind of like wise what she wanted to choose. She wasn't just grabbing, like she was asking prices and thinking like, is this good? Like,
Yeah.
and asking me, I'm like, oh, yes or no. And so she ended up spending all the money she had. And so before, I feel like she didn't really understand. So she would be like, oh my God, I spent all my money. But then now she's like, it's okay, mom. I know that I'm going to make it back. And I'm like, yes,
Mm.
baby, that's good. I'm like, you're going to make it back. And God's like always going to be there. And you're going to make it back. Like, so that same day, she got one customer alone spent $60. The day that we put all the stuff out, she ended up making her money back that she had put into it, right? So then she was so happy. I was like, oh my God, I told the customer, thank you. Because I do tell them, like, this is my daughter's stuff. And I want them
Yeah.
to know, like, the money really does go to her. I'm not
Yes.
just like saying it. Like, no, it really does. So I got home, I gave her the money. She was so happy. And I'm like, see, mama, like, and it's hard work. And maybe you're not always going to be there because you're at school or you're at home or whatever. And that's okay. Like, I don't mind it being there and I'm
Yeah.
helping you. But I tell her, like, I want you to save the money. Um, she spends a little bit when we go to stores, she'll
Yeah.
spend, but I'm like, no, I want you to put the money away. Like, I want you to do whatever you want. I'm not gonna just say, oh, for college. Of course, I want her to go to
Yes.
college. That's what I would have loved for her to do, what I didn't do. But I'm like, I want you to either go to college, start a business. She says she wants to do all of that. And she's like, I don't want to buy a Lamborghini,
Yeah.
mom. So she says all these things, right? I tell her, you could do whatever you want.
Yeah.
Because I feel like growing up, like, I didn't have that. My grandma, I mean, she was good to me and
Yeah.
everything, but I feel like even now, like as an adult, like me and my boyfriend, we had bought two cars and he had bought a truck and I had bought a SUV. But mind you, this SUV wasn't a regular SUV. It had a supercharger in there. So it was um over $100,000 SUV. And
Mhm.
I told her, like, I'm gonna buy it. And then she was like, no, like you're crazy, like don't do it. Like she always, I feel like that's how our grandparents or just older people, and I get it, maybe financially it's crazy sometimes, but I feel like you had to go through that. You had to learn.
Yes.
And if that's what I wanted to spend my money on, who cares? Let me,
Yeah.
and be there for me. Like just be like, you know what? Yes, like do it or you could do it. But I feel like she's always been like scared or like always like, no, like I don't, so it's kind of hard. So I'm like, I don't care. So me and my boyfriend, we went to the dealer, we ordered what we were gonna buy, and when it came, we went and then we bought them, and so we didn't buy it cash.
Yeah.
We both put a big down payment, but we had monthly payments. So she was asking me like after like what are the payments, and so she's always been like that, like, and it's kind of hard because I'm
They
like
only know what they know.
exactly, and
Yeah.
I get it. So that's why I try not to be too hard, but I'm like just freaking be happy for me and like tell me like motivate and like you know. But I'm like
you with your daughter. You want a Lamborghini, you buy the Lamborghini.
Because I could say, oh no, mama, that's hundreds of thousands, but I'm like no, because she sees how we are and she sees that like I tell her anything's possible.
And when
like,
you work hard for it, then
why not?
should,
Yeah. If that's what if I work and that's what I want to spend my money on, then it's okay,
Tenderly, I could talk to you for a whole nother hour, but I can't. I'm like, but I can't. We gotta go.
I know.
This has been amazing. I didn't even get to you going through COVID. Like she literally made it all through COVID in her shop.
COVID. I thought I was gonna shut down, but no, thank God that I just worked hard. I did online sales. My customers, they really showed up for me.
Where could they find you?
They could find me on Instagram, Tenderlys Boutique, and my website's www.tenderlysboutique.online. We're located in Montebello, and yeah, we're open.
What's the address?
614 West Whittier Boulevard, Montebello, California, 90640. I post every day on Instagram, so if you're on Instagram, follow me there, or TikTok, Tenderlys Boutique. And
you guys, she's got $5, $10 racks.
Yes, I have
great little outfits. So much Dodger gear right now. Affordable, great clothes, and a rack for her daughter. So go check it out and go
come
spend
support.
some money.
Thank you. Yes.
And she's joining the board of One Heart at a Time Foundation.
Oh, thank
We're
you.
so excited.
So excited.
So if you guys, if you enjoyed this podcast, please come back for more. Like, follow, subscribe, and, just love on us because we have more great stories to come. And we're going to be doing some great things for a lot of young girls.
Yes, I can't wait.
Yeah. And check out my book, Reclaiming Our Divinity in a Programmed World, coming on Amazon soon. It'll be released, but we are open for pre-orders, oneheartatatime.net. So thanks for joining us. And I probably will have you back.
I know. We have more to talk about. A lot more.
We didn't even really
I'm sorry.
It's okay. It's so good. So good. So thanks. Thank you for being here. I loved it. And thanks for joining, you guys.